A severe tropical cyclone is developing in WA's far north Kimberley region. Crystal Wu reports for us outside the Department of Fire and Emergency Services. Crystal, talk us through what preparations are underway.
Karen, residents in the Kimberley region have been told to prepare to evacuate over the next few days. A tropical low is developing into a tropical cyclone, and that's expected to intensify over the next few days before peaking on Thursday and Friday. Now, the towns at most risk are between Port Hedland and Broome. They're expecting wind gusts of up to 90 kilometres an hour as well as heavy rain. Residents across those towns have been urged to prepare an emergency kit. This may include things like adding in a portable radio, a first aid kit, food and fresh drinking water. Port Hedland Mayor Peter Carter said while the town is on cyclone watch for a majority of the year, they have to stay extra vigilant over the coming few days.
It's basically getting those places ready and cleaned up so we don't have flying to be flying around the area. So, yeah, look, the town is, we're used to cyclones, but as I said, we have a lot of new people come to town. So we're a transient town. So those people need to be aware and listen to the radio, listen to the forecast and find out exactly what's going on.
People in parts of the Kimberley and Sandy Desert districts have been warned to prepare to evacuate for their homes in case of major flooding. They've been told to relocate their livestock and equipment and prepare to evacuate their homes if need be. Now, of course, earlier this year, the Kimberley region experienced its worst flooding in Western Australian history. But the focus now, despite the fact that they are recovering, is to prepare for this tropical cyclone, stay prepared on Emergency WA and keep updated in case they have any updates for you, Karen.
Crystal, thank you. For more on what conditions that potential cyclone could bring and the effects it could have in the region, our team at Sky News Weather has the latest details.
We are closely watching the development of a cyclone that is currently moving roughly parallel to the northwest coast of WA. It's expected to make landfall later this week. For some detailed analysis, let's bring in our meteorologist, Sharpe. Rob, we've seen cyclones in this part of the country before, but this one looks huge.
Yeah, it could be as big as a Category 5 tropical cyclone. So we're talking about a nasty system moving in towards the coast, most likely Thursday and maybe early Friday is when it could be making landfall as a very powerful tropical cyclone. So it's quite likely to be at least a Category 3 due to rapid intensification that should take place through the next couple of days.
So a severe tropical cyclone, where are we expecting this might hit?
So most likely it's going to make landfall between about Port Hedland and Broome. So that stretch of coastline is actually the most cyclone-prone part of Australia's coast around Australia, where we could be we're likely to see gusts above 200 kilometres an hour, maybe as high as 280 or so kilometres per hour on the coast, with some heavy rain and the threat of a storm surge as well, Rhiannon.
As you say, this is one of the most cyclone-prone parts of the country. What have we seen in this region before? What have some of those economic impacts been? Yeah,
we've had 3 severe tropical cyclones hit this stretch of coast over the last 15 years, and one of those was a Category 5 tropical cyclone. That was Lawrence back in 2010. So when it made landfall, it was pretty much smack bang between Broome and Port Hedland, and its biggest impacts, thankfully, was mostly just on cattle. 1,500 lost their lives due to that massive weather system moving in, but the impact on humans was not all that great, and the economic impacts were still quite significant because the Port Hedland port had to shut down, and that's one of the busiest ports in the country.
So we're not talking about a hugely populated part of the country, but are we still likely to see evacuations, communities being shut down?
Yeah, so particularly anywhere from Broome to Port Hedland, I think should be on edge and ready for this system to be moving in. The closer it is to Broome, the more dangerous it is as well, because winds travel clockwise around a tropical cyclone, and so with that, we're concerned that the winds are going to be quite rapid on that eastern side of the system. So Broome, to my money, is more at risk than Port Hedland with this event.
So we have seen historical cyclones in this part of the country before, but how is this one, a cyclone Ilsa, likely to compare to what we've seen in the past?
Meteorologist.
Yeah, so it's going to be one of the biggest tropical cyclones for Australia, it looks like, but the exact impacts on communities in the region will really depend on the exact location of its arrival.